Okay, but if time isn't this straight line, why does my brain still freak out every time I hear retrocausality?
Right? My favorite is when you hear about the block universe, and suddenly your precognitive story sounds almost normal.
We're asking the big question. Can you actually see the future? Or is it just coincidence and a trick of the mind?
This is The Voice That Knew, a skeptic's journey into precognition.
We are digging into the science, the stories, and the absolute weirdness of it all.
We've got 20 episodes to figure this out together. You're not going to want to miss where this ends up.
Welcome, everyone. We're glad you decided to join us.
Let's go.
So we've spent the last few episodes talking about the experience of precognition.
Right. We've looked at the psychology, the potential for cognitive bias, memory editing, even the neuroscience of hearing voices, as we heard in our first episode.
And we keep hitting the same fundamental wall. The big one, causality. How can you know something that hasn't happened yet? It just feels impossible.
It feels impossible because our entire experience of reality is built on the idea that time flows in one direction. Cause precedes effect. The past is fixed. The future is unwritten.
Yeah, exactly. But what if that whole model of time is, well, wrong?
That's the question that a surprising number of physicists and philosophers have been asking for over a century. And it leads to one of the most mind-bending ideas out there, the block universe model, or what philosophers call eternalism.
Eternalism. Okay, that sounds elegant. Walk me through it.
The simplest analogy is a reel of film. Every single frame of the movie, the beginning, the middle, the end, all exist simultaneously on that reel. Our experience is like watching the movie one frame at a time, so we get the illusion of a story unfolding, but the entire story is already there.
So, in this model, my birth, this conversation right now, and my death all exist equally?
According to eternalism, yes. Past, present, and future are all equally real, existing in a static, four-dimensional space-time structure. The flow of time is just a subjective illusion created by our consciousness moving through the block.
Where does an idea like that even come from? It's so counterintuitive.
It comes directly from Einstein's theory of relativity. Relativity showed that there's no universal now. Two different observers, moving at different speeds, can disagree on the order of events. The idea of a single, objective present moment that we all share just doesn't hold up.
Huh. And if there's no universal now, then the distinction between past, present, and future gets blurry.
Exactly. The block universe is the logical extension of that. As a recent Medium post from just a few days ago put it, eternalism is like Einstein's buried lead. It's a natural consequence of relativity. Time is another dimension, length, width, and height.
Okay, my brain is already starting to hurt, but I can see the connection. If the future already exists on this space-time block, then precognition wouldn't be seeing an unwritten future. It would be, what, glimpsing a frame further down the reel?
That's the speculative leap some people make. The idea has been around for a while. J.W. Dunn wrote a book back in 1927 called An Experiment with Time. Precognitive dreams with a kind of multi-dimensional time theory. It was never accepted by mainstream science, but it shows people have been trying to fit these experiences into a block-like universe for a long time.
So, is this the accepted model in physics, the block universe?
It's a dominant view, but it's definitely not unchallenged. There are some serious philosophical and physical problems with it.
Okay, good. Because my biggest problem is free will. If the future is already there, like a movie that's already been shot, what does that mean for our choices?
That is the single biggest philosophical objection. It seems to imply a kind of fatalism or determinism that many find deeply unsettling, and it runs completely contrary to our powerful intuition that the now is special and that the future is open.
So what's the alternative theory? The one that matches our intuition?
It's called presentism, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Only the present moment is real. The past is gone. It no longer exists. The future hasn't happened yet. It doesn't exist either. The only thing that has real existence is the now.
That feels right. That feels like how I experience the world. But you're saying it clashes with relativity.
It does, which is a problem. But some physicists and philosophers argue the block universe has bigger problems. For one, quantum mechanics, our other pillar of modern physics, suggests the universe is fundamentally unpredictable. Things are genuinely uncertain until they're measured.
Wait, how does that work? If the future is already written in a block, how can it also be uncertain at the quantum level?
Great question. And physicists don't have a consensus answer. It's a huge point of tension. Some, like physicist George Ellis, have proposed a compromise model called the evolving block universe.
An evolving block? So the block grows?
Essentially, yes. In this model, the past is fixed and real, but the future is genuinely open and non-existent. The present moment is the boundary where the potential future becomes the concrete past. Space-time literally grows as time progresses. It tries to reconcile the fixedness of the past from relativity with the openness of the future from quantum mechanics.
Okay, that model makes more intuitive sense, but it kills the easiest explanation for precognition, right? If the future doesn't exist yet, there's nothing to see.
Precisely. Under strict presentism, precognition is fundamentally paradoxical. You'd be getting information from a place that doesn't exist. It would require an effect, your knowledge, to precede a non-existent cause. It's a massive conceptual hurdle.
So we're stuck between a universe where the future is real, but our choices might not be, and a universe where our choices are real, but precognition seems impossible. This is not simple.
Not at all. But this is where some physicists look for a third way. They don't mess with the existence of the future, but with the direction of causality itself.
The direction of causality? You mean effects happening before their causes?
That's the idea. It's called retrocausality, or backward-in-time causation. And as bizarre as it sounds, it's a concept that keeps popping up in the strangest corners of quantum mechanics.
Okay, I need an example. A very clear one.
The historical starting point is something called the Wheeler-Feynman absorber theory from the 1940s. They were dealing with electromagnetism and proposed that when an electron emits a wave of energy, it sends it out in two directions: forward in time, what they called a retarded wave, and backward in time, an advanced wave.
A wave that travels backward in time? How is that not a paradox right away?
Well, in their model, the backward wave is absorbed by particles in the future, which then creates another backward wave that travels back to the original electron at the exact moment of emission, canceling out the original backward wave. It's incredibly complex.
My head is spinning. So what's the point of the backward wave if it just gets canceled out?
The point is that the math is perfectly time-symmetric. It suggests the laws of physics might not have a preferred direction for time at the most fundamental level. This idea was later developed into what's called the transactional interpretation of quantum mechanics.
Okay, transactional. Like a handshake.
Exactly. An emitter sends out a forward-in-time offer wave, and a potential absorber in the future sends back a backward-in-time confirmation wave. A quantum event, like a photon being detected, only happens when this handshake across space-time is complete.
So in this model, the future is actively participating in creating the present.
Yes, and you can immediately see why people interested in precognition are drawn to these ideas. A speculative blog post on Science and Sci from a couple of years back highlighted these models. If there's a real physical process that reaches back from the future, well, that sounds a lot like a mechanism for precognition.
But this is an interpretation, right? It's a detail about what the math means. It's not proven.
Absolutely not. It remains a fringe interpretive framework. Most physicists don't use it. But it's not the only place this backward-in-time weirdness shows up. The most famous example is a thought experiment by the legendary physicist John Wheeler.
The same Wheeler from the Wheeler-Feynman theory?
The very same. In the late 1970s, he devised what he called the delayed choice experiment. It's a variation on the famous double-slit experiment, which showed that a quantum particle, like a photon, can act as either a particle or a wave.
Okay, I remember that from school. If you watch which slit it goes through, it acts like a particle. If you don't, it acts like a wave and creates an interference pattern.
Right. Wheeler's genius was to ask, what if we delay the choice of whether to watch it or not until after the photon has already passed through the slits?
Wait, how can you do that? It's already gone through. It must have decided whether to be a particle or a wave back then.
That's what's so wild. The experiments, which have now been done for real, show that it doesn't matter. If you set up your detector at the end to see which path information, you see a particle. If you set it up to see an interference pattern, you see a wave. Your choice in the present seems to dictate the reality of the photon's past.
No way! So choosing now changes what happened back there.
That's the retrocausal interpretation. Wheeler himself had a more philosophical take. A 2024 article in Quantum magazine quoted him saying the past is not a phenomenon until it is an observed phenomenon. He argued that the past is undefined, and our measurement in the present reaches back and gives it a concrete reality.
So he wouldn't say it's changing the past, but creating the past.
Precisely. He called it participatory universe, a very poetic idea. But it's crucial to say, this is hotly debated. Many physicists push back hard against the retrocausal interpretation.
Okay, what's the counterargument? How do they explain the experiment without time travel?
They argue it can be explained perfectly well with standard forward-in-time quantum math. A recent paper in Quantum Studies made this exact point, concluding there's no need for backward reasoning or retrocausality. Other models, like Bohmian mechanics, can also account for the results without it.
So it's not a settled question. It's a fight over interpretation.
A huge one. It goes to the very heart of what reality is. Is the past fixed, or is it a fuzzy cloud of possibilities until we nail it down with an observation? The delayed choice experiment forces you to confront that question. It's probably the closest thing we have to experimental evidence that could even hint at a retrocausal world.
Okay, so we have a debate about whether the future already exists, and a debate about whether the present can influence the past. It seems like the core issue is, what even is time?
And you've just hit on what's known in physics as the problem of time. It's one of the biggest roadblocks to a unified theory of everything, a theory of quantum gravity.
The problem of time. Explain.
It's another conflict between our two best theories of the universe. In quantum mechanics, time is absolute. It's a universal clock that ticks in the background, a stage on which the quantum drama unfolds.
Okay, that's the time I feel like I live in.
But in Einstein's general relativity, as we said, time is relative and dynamic. It's part of the space-time fabric, and it can be warped by gravity. There is no universal clock. So when you try to merge the two theories, you get a mess. The main equation of quantum gravity, the Wheeler-DeWitt equation, has no time variable in it at all. Time just vanishes from the equation.
Time vanishes? What does that even mean?
It means that at the most fundamental level of reality,
time as we know it might not exist. It might be an emergent property, something that arises from a deeper, timeless reality. Kind of like how wetness emerges from H2O molecules, even though a single molecule isn't wet.
So, this whole journey, we've been trying to figure out if you can get information from the future. And now you're telling me there might not even be a future, or a past, or even a now at the most basic level?
That's the radical possibility that some of these theories point to. Researchers are exploring all sorts of ideas, that time emerges after quantization, or that we should just use timeless strategies to describe reality. It's the absolute cutting edge, and it's deeply philosophical.
Does any of this research, the problem of time, emergent time, does it ever connect back to things like precognition?
That's a key question. And based on current scientific literature, the answer is a clear no. These are discussions happening within fundamental physics. The provided research shows no papers trying to link the problem of time in quantum gravity to models of precognition.
So it's an interesting parallel, but not a direct connection being made by scientists.
Correct. We're in the realm of pure speculation when we try to connect them. It's a conceptual leap, not a scientific one.
Okay, so let's try to synthesize all this. We started with this seemingly impossible phenomenon, knowing something before it happens. And to even begin to find a place for it in our worldview, we have to question the very nature of time.
Right. We have the block universe model, which gives you a future to access, but at the potential cost of free will. It's clean, but philosophically difficult.
Then you have presentism, which saves free will, but makes precognition seem utterly impossible because there's no future to know.
And then you have these quantum ideas about retrocausality, a future that influences the past, which is tantalizing, but highly contested. Many physicists argue it's an unnecessary interpretation of the data.
So there's no easy answer. There's no single model of time that everyone agrees on, let alone one that neatly explains precognition.
No, and it's so important to stress that. There is zero peer-reviewed, empirical research linking these physics models to genuine precognition phenomena. All we can say is that physics has revealed that our everyday, intuitive understanding of time is almost certainly wrong.
And that opens up a conceptual space. It doesn't prove anything, but it makes the impossible feel, well, slightly less impossible. It suggests the rules of reality might be stranger than we think.
Exactly. The value of exploring these ideas isn't that they provide an answer, it's that they challenge our assumptions. Whether we're talking about the block universe or Wheeler's delayed choice, they force us to accept that the relationship between past, present, and future is far from simple.
And that leaves us, as always, with more questions than answers. We have these powerful, compelling human experiences, and on the other side, these deeply strange, unresolved models of reality. And for now, the bridge between them is one of speculation, not science.
And that's where we have to leave it, in that uncomfortable but fascinating gap between what we experience and what we can explain.